Paid ads, should you run them? Today on Run a Profitable Gym, we're going to answer that question. My name is Mike Warkentin. I'm here with Two Brain CMO and marketing expert, John Franklin. Before we go any further, please hit subscribe so you don't miss a single show just like this. John, I'm going to welcome you to the show with a great big question because you are the expert. Why run paid ads for a gym?
Make more money. That is the whole answer. We're going to end the podcast here.
And that's why I like to ask you big questions like that, because I know you always have an answer that gets right to the point. Make more money. And we're going to dig into why that works today and some of the reasons why people don't make money when they run ads so that you can figure out what's best for you and your business. So if ads work and they help you make more money, why do some people avoid running them? What's the problem here?
I think there's two main ones. Number one is not understanding your metrics, and number two is likely underspending. So being anchored in an earlier point in time. So let's talk about the first one, which is understanding your metrics, right? What we see very often is someone will throw $100 down on Facebook ads to try them out. They'll have no clients to show for it, and then completely freak out, shut off all the campaigns. And the reality is, like, the ads just haven't had enough time to do their job. And so they may be killing a golden goose. They don't know yet. Like, you have to spend a decent amount of money to give the campaign time to like optimize, and then also to track like the pipeline. It's not like someone sees your, like, how many times have you saw an ad, dropped everything, went and like bought a gym? Like, it takes a little while. It takes impressions. It's like anything else. Like, you know, someone comes into your gym and says they want to get fit. They come to a workout or two. They don't see results. They quit. You know, there's a reason for that. They haven't put enough time and effort into it. And so on a basic level, like, if you were a gym owner who was running ads 2012, 2013, 2014, that's when I would start playing around with them. You really didn't need to know your metrics, right? When you're getting leads for 50 cents and it costs you $20 to get a new member, and you run a New You challenge and 150 people show up and break your gym, the math is so obvious that, like, oh, this is something that works. You don't really have to be on top of it. But as ad costs have gotten higher, it requires a little more patience, discipline, and understanding of the numbers to do it profitably. And so I think we should figure out, what do I mean by profit? So like, first of all, profitably means over the lifetime of the member, not necessarily right off the bat, right? And most big companies know this, feel very comfortable, right? Like, for example, Netflix, they're going to lose $75 getting someone to sign up for a $15 a month subscription. So it costs them $90 to get a client. They spend $15 on the first month. They lose $75, but they make it up on the back end. Yeah. The average Netflix subscriber stays somewhere along the lines of 25 months. And so they know that. And obviously, like, some of those are going to churn sooner. Some of them are going to stay longer than 25, but they know over a long period of time, it's going to average out to about that number. So the reason they spend billions of dollars on ads is because they feel comfortable in that number. They want that equation to play out. Like, they just let the math, and they give it time, and they continue to feed the machine. And that's why they've continued to grow over the past decade. And the same applies to a gym owner, right? Like, I see a lot of people, they'll spend $800 to get someone to sign up for a $300 challenge and say, you know, ads are terrible. This is bogus. Shut them down, right? And while you may be losing $500 on the front end, you still need to understand the lifetime value of a customer. And so for a two-brain gym, we know that number is somewhere in the neighborhood of, or that length that the average member will stay with your gym is somewhere in the neighborhood of 21 months. And so if it's, you know, $200 a month is your membership across 21 months, that's $4,200, right? And so if you're losing $500 to make $4,200, just takes a little bit of time. You know, it's just a math equation. Right? And I understand that's like scary, right? If you're someone who doesn't have the type of money to lose $500 on a front end for a member, like, that can be gut wrenching. But you have to think about it. If you're cutting off a campaign like that, you're really just killing the golden goose before you actually hit, like, you know, you're hitting the panic button when things are working exactly the way they should.
Yeah, the best analogy that I can put together for that is if someone decides to dabble in the stock market and you buy a stock, and this company, You buy it and it immediately goes from $100 a share to $90 a share. You're like, I'm losing money. This is brutal. It goes down another $10. You're down to $80. And so you just pull the pin, you sell the thing at a loss, and you walk away. You've lost $200 or whatever it is. And you say, the stock market sucks. It doesn't work for me. But if you had held that stock for a year or 2 years or whatever it takes to get the return, you would actually make money. It would work. And a lot of people do this in the stock market, whether it's crypto or actual stocks or whatever. They do these weird experiments. They don't track things. They just react emotionally, and they make decisions that don't benefit them long term, and they don't see the value of what was supposed to be an investment. Right. So that's kind of how I look at it. And it's very common in the gym industry because a lot of us, myself included back in the day, I didn't have metrics. I did exactly what you said. I ran a 6-week challenge. I broke my gym, ads worked. And then I did some research and I figured out, hey, there are ways to learn how to do this. And that's when I ran into you and your partner, Mateo, who taught me how to run ads in one of Two Brain's early Facebook marketing courses. I took that plan. And the thing that I took away from that more than anything else, and it was a spreadsheet that you and Mateo had created, was I entered these metrics into it, and it literally kicked out a number that would tell me what I'm making. So it would say, yes, you are paying this for your to get the client. This is what you're making in front end. This is your recurring. This is your profit. I was like, whoa, this is a no-brainer. Do you remember that spreadsheet?
Sure. It's called ad math.
Right. And it worked. And it worked like a charm for me. And that's what convinced me that everything was great with ads. And I didn't have to spend a ton of money. I think I was spending like $5 or $8 a day or something small. That was back in the day, but I was getting good results with that. You said metrics was the first reason. What was the second one you had on your list?
Yeah. And so that is underspending. So if you are someone who was accustomed to spending $5 a day, ad costs have risen over the past decade, right? People understand that how much value is there. Almost every small business relies on Facebook ads. It's still, the best. And when I say Facebook, I mean Meta. So that includes Facebook, Instagram, right? That and Google search are really the only two games in town. If you're doing digital advertising, you're a small business. But you see people who may not have a lot of cash in the bank, and maybe feeding $2 a day into the machine and do that for a month and shut it all off. But the reality is, they really haven't put enough money into the machine to let the campaign optimize and to get enough leads to really see if they work or not, right? Like, you want to run a campaign and get somewhere in the neighborhood of 30, 40 leads through it, so you can take that funnel and say, if I get 30 leads, this is how many people book a call, this is how many people sign up. So you get a clear idea of the ad math. And it's not like $100. If you're in a very expensive market, so Eric Chang, who's a Two Brain tinker, he pays $100 per lead because he's in Southern California, which is just a very competitive ad market. But his funnel is incredibly profitable because he has a strong understanding of his ad math. But if you're a new gym owner in Southern California and you put, $200 into a Facebook ad campaign and shut it off because it doesn't work, you really just haven't fed it enough money to figure out if it works or not. Right. And so you have to be willing to stomach spending $1,000 on a campaign, assuming that you feel comfortable in the offer, the creative, all the elements that make a strong campaign. And so, yes, it's risky if you're new to it, but that's why you get people to help you. That's why you work with a Two Brain certified marketing mentor.
Optimization is something that you mentioned that's really important, because if you one of the things that I learned from you that I thought was probably the best thing you ever taught me was to test stuff and then see if it works. I remember I said to you, do you think this ad will work? You said, I don't know, let's test it. And that was great, because you do that, you see what happens, and you just can't predict what's going to hit. Sometimes stuff that you think is great sucks, and some stuff that you think sucks is great, and it just converts like crazy. The only way to do it is to test it and optimize it. And so that's a really interesting process. Chris Cooper has talked about this scientific approach to everything in the gym business. So you're putting up an ad, and Two Brain will give you this stuff that's been tested, so we can tell you with pretty good certainty what's going to work. And then you can optimize stuff and say, okay, we're going to take this copy, change these things. We're going to take this image, change these things. And then all of a sudden you've got an ad package that's working really, really well. And then you just ride that into the ground and add rocket fuel. So in our most recent leaderboard, we had a gym owner say their set show close rates were great because they were spending $60 a day on Facebook advertising. That's a really high number, but the metrics worked for this gym owner. And she was clear that her husband was all over the advertising and was optimizing stuff and changing things all the time to make sure that this money was not wasted. It was like rocket fuel being poured onto this fire to keep it raging. Optimization, is that one of the most important things when you are running ads? Is it metrics and optimization?
It matters, right?
Yeah.
And to be fair, Facebook has gotten really good at optimizing ads on its own platform. So when we started, there used to be a whole science to getting all these different creative variants in there and testing them and structuring the campaigns and building this architecture that allowed you to do this. But really, all you need now is to dump a lot of raw ingredients into the machine. So you just feed it a bunch of headlines, you feed it a bunch of images, you feed it a bunch of videos, and you feed it a bunch of creative. And Facebook's going to slice and dice and push that out in as many variations as it can, and it will naturally, like, assuming you're giving it enough spend, find the winners. And so when I say like a bunch of different variations, a lot of people take that to mean like I need completely different headlines and completely different images and completely different offers. But the reality is you have a campaign that's working, it's ROI positive, you have a winner. You don't really have to, change the images around. It may be something as small as like adding a different filter, changing it from color to black and white, changing one of the strong words you use in your headline, swapping out, a sentence or two in the creative. It's little nitpicky stuff that really makes a big difference if it's something, it's a campaign you're going to be running over a long period of time.
So Facebook wants your ads to succeed in there. Is it still called dynamic creative, or have they changed the name of it?
You can still do dynamic creative, yes.
Yeah. So what they're doing is they're just putting all this stuff. You put the ingredients in the machine, they make a bunch of different sausages, and they see what people are eating, and then they keep serving that one, and it works. And that's a really cool way. I mean, I've seen so many variations of things that copy that we've put out for people that you can just take and spit into a machine. Out it comes, and then you track your metrics, and things work out pretty well. So why would someone tell you to cut a funnel and just say that paid ads don't work? Because we hear this in the community from time to time, people saying that you should not run paid ads. It's not the way to build your business, but you're telling me that it helps you make money. And if you track your metrics, it works like a charm. So why are people saying that?
I mean, to be fair, not every gym owner needs to run paid ads. Like you can run a successful gym without paid ads.
We have 3 other funnels, so we'll get into those in just a sec, but keep going, John.
When you talk to most gym owners, you ask them what's the biggest issue you're facing. Like the most common response is, if I could just get some more bodies in the door, I'll close. My biggest issue is I just need more people walking through the door. And so, sure, there's a million different things you can do to get more bodies in the door, but Facebook ads is one of the most scalable and hands off versus some of these others that involve grounding and pounding, talking to people in real life, creating blog posts, every single day for the rest of your life. It's just one of the, once you get it dialed in, it works for a long period of time, right? And so the people who are best at these have been running them nonstop for 10 years plus. And yeah, it's gotten more expensive to acquire a client, but it's just like a consistent source of bodies through the door. So, if you're someone who's happy with the size of your gym, if you're making enough money, if after all the cancellations each month, there's more members than people left, by all means, don't run Facebook ads, right? Like it's not necessary. But if you are someone who is not happy with the amount of people coming through the door, if you want to grow, if you're struggling with churn, it's silly to write it off as like, this doesn't work, right? It's, it's over, I think last year, let's see, what were the numbers? Last year, Facebook generated 131 billion in ad revenue. So, it works for somebody. So somebody's putting that money into the machine.
Yeah.
And so instead of telling yourself this narrative over and over that Facebook ads don't work, it's better to have like a little shift and say, why don't they work for me? Right. And within Two Brain, we know, we'll have a gym in a market say it works and another gym in the exact same market say it doesn't. And the reality is it's probably an owner issue instead of a Facebook issue. And so that goes back to, we talked about metrics, we talked about underperforming, but there are obviously the other elements. There's the creative, there's the targeting. And then the one that, I gets convoluted a lot is the offer. And then everything that happens once you have a lead in the funnel. So that's your nurture and your sales process. So Facebook might be doing its thing. You might be getting leads for cheaper than the guy down the street. But because of all those other things that we mentioned, it may not be converting as well. And so, you got to who's making it work with $100 leads when you got gyms getting $10 leads saying it doesn't.
Yeah. And so the interesting part about this is that Two Brain doesn't just teach the paid ads funnel. We're not the paid ads company, right? This is one of 4 funnels that Chris Cooper lays out for gym owners in our program. And you've got the referral funnel, which is just using your current clients to get more people just like them. It takes nothing but your time. You've got the social media funnel and you have the content funnel. Those are very closely related because a lot of your content can be funneled onto social media. Those 2 things, those 3 can work and they cost you almost nothing but time. Add in the paid ads funnel, that's 4 constant streams of leads coming into your business, and only one of them is costing you money. And if you do it properly and track your metrics, it's not going to cost you a lot of money. It's going to show that you're making an investment. Then you've got this pile of leads coming in. Some of them are going to be super hot, like the referral people who are referred by a friend inside your business, hot leads, slam dunk, close in the sales office. On the other end of it, you've got these cold leads that are going to require more nurturing. If you keep doing this, and this is what John was alluding to, nurturing these leads, warming them up, bringing them in, getting them to book appointments, getting them to sit down with you, giving them the prescriptive model, which is you lay out solutions to their problems, you close them because you know how to do that through your sales process, then you work on retention. The whole system works really well. Paid ads is just one part of that process, one of 4 different funnels that we teach gym owners how to set up. John, you alluded to this, and I want to dig into it. Give people a hint because there's an article coming out that's going to talk about this. You listed 5 reasons why ads don't work, and you hinted at a couple of them there, but if we could just quickly go over a couple of them. What are the things that people really, really screw up? Like these are your top 5 reasons why gym owners say ads don't work. What do we got here?
Before we do that, I want to address something you said, right? Because a lot of people think of, they say like ads cost money. They'd rather do another form of marketing that doesn't cost money. And all those other forms you mentioned cost money. Like it's just, you pay for it with your time. Right. If you are going to do organic marketing, if you're going to make stuff on Instagram, if you're going to write blog posts, that costs time, and there is a value to your time as an owner. It may be very low. If you're a gym owner that's struggling, it may be a under minimum wage number, but there is still a real value of taking that time and applying it in another part of your business. And so just because something doesn't require a credit card doesn't mean it doesn't cost time. So when you're evaluating the different things that you can do, obviously, you want to run all 4 of them well. But for most people, it's best to focus on one at a time. It is important to factor and value your time when deciding this. So
important point. And that's again, metrics. That's going back to exactly what you said, track your metrics. Where is your time and money best spent? All right, keep going.
All right. So you said the 5, the top 5 reasons, according to me, why most people give up on ads, or why they give up on ads. So
number 1 here, you want to get them in order? You got them in front of you?
Yeah, I can run them through them. So the first one's the offer. And so it's moving away from a timeless offer. So like a 6-week challenge or a low barrier offer, like a 21 days for $21, these things that have just been pervasive in the fitness industry for a very long period of time. A lot of people will say like, hey, this isn't our brand, this isn't our feel, and they'll try and create their own offer, or maybe they'll do brand ads or something a little more esoteric, and it just leads to it falling flat, right? People are distracted, busy, scrolling a mile a minute. It's best to just focus on the thing that has worked and continues to work for years and years and years.
So you're trying to reinvent the wheel and it just falls flat.
Sure. Yeah. I'm going to do a 12-week challenge, or I'm not going to use the word challenge, or low barrier offer. I'm going to, just talk about why my gym has the best equipment. And so, it just seems like every time that we've had people kind of go off the script or try something new or novel, it just comes off as a little bit convoluted or confusing to a prospect. Like, you have to remember, these aren't people who are used to seeing fitness ads all day. Like, a lot of gym owners will say, hey, this offer is played out in my market. And the reality is, like, it isn't. You're like a gym owner. You're going to be served gym ads. Like, it's stuff that you interact with. You're looking at your competitor stuff. Yeah. Like, the algorithm is going to feed you that. Like, my feed is like a toxic, it's a toxic feed of all the gym gurus. And so I see all of those, but like, it's not like every gym owner has seen every single one of them. It's just like, it just knows that I'm involved in that and feeds me that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. All right. So the next piece is the creative, which we talked on. Yep. Like, there are images that work better than other images, or headlines that have been proven to work. Again, we provide this all to two-brain clients. And when you veer too far from that, you could get a winner, but more often than not, you don't. Like, we've had in two-brain images that have performed really, really well that came up from the community. But like, that's the advantage of being in such a large peer group with 1,000 different gyms. You got 1,000 people testing creative every other week. You're just going to have a lot more, data going in the machine. You're going to have a higher likelihood of someone within the network finding a winner and sharing it. And so if you're trying to do that by yourself, like, you're just at a disadvantage, because you just don't have that network and community of people telling you what's working versus what isn't.
And let's be real, if that stuff really works, like that, when you go through a feed and you see a great ad that makes you stop and click, and I've seen them sometimes where they're very clever. It might be simple, but they're super clever. And I was like, whoa, I have to stop and look at it. And sometimes I'm even mad about it because they tricked me, right? So like, certain creative will work better than other creative. So that's something to keep in mind. And again, we offer that to clients. Keep going.
But sometimes it's just like weird stuff that you see an ad and it wouldn't, you wouldn't pick it as a winner just by looking at it, but it just performs really well. And that's why most of the time when people come with me like, hey, do you think this and work? I don't know, test it. That's my default answer. Like, that's, I'm not a 38-year-old woman. I'm not a 38-year-old mom in a suburb. Like, I don't know what they're going to respond to. So you got to throw it out there. So next piece is the targeting, and that one's simple. Most people just, the targeting is too wide. And so you and I have done a podcast before on getting specific about your avatar and who it is you serve. And the more honed in you are on that, the easier the rest of your marketing becomes. And so the three pieces that you should watch out for is, one, radius. Like, you need to know that the average gym owner is only driving 4 miles. So if you're targeting 10, 20 miles outside of your gym, you're just showing your ads to a bunch of people who are not going to buy. Or even if they do buy, they're going to quit because they don't want to drive 20 miles to your gym. People want convenience. And so unless you're an Equinox level gym where it's this premium experiential thing that you can't get anywhere else, people just aren't gonna make the trek, right? Yeah. And that's not, it's not universally true. It's just, true in most cases.
It seems like the temptation, at least it was for me, is to cast a wide net because you want a response and you're not really confident in your offer and maybe even your brand as you're starting out. So you're just like, I'll just target everyone and hope that someone, clicks here. But when in reality, you just want this one type of fish. And if you would go for that type of fish in that right radius, you'd get a better return on your ads than if you just cast it off to everyone. Like you said, someone who's 20 miles away from the gym isn't going to be your target market and isn't the person that you're looking for in the first place. So that's a really interesting one, but it's a very tempting mistake to cast a wide net. I did that. It was a mistake.
Well, yeah, you have to look at your member base. If you look around at your busiest class and everyone's a 35 to 40-year-old woman who's like a mom and whatever, and you're out targeting 75-year-old men, if you get one, like, there's no indication that there's going to be in line with your lifetime value of a customer, because this is a completely different avatar. It's a completely different persona. Plus, that person is going to feel out of place. So, like, it makes sense that you're trying to talk, like, your specific avatar. So these are the people who pay you the most, come the most frequently, are the most fun to work with. And the clearer you are on that, the better it is. And for most people, it's going to be someone who lives close to their gym. It's going to be a woman, and it's going to be probably in the 25 to 45 age demographic. And I'd say that's true for probably about 75 to 80% of the gyms listening to this.
There you go. Now, you covered misunderstood metrics a little bit earlier. What do you want to add to that?
Yeah, so we talked about knowing your metrics. It's really just, how much are you spending, or how much can you afford to spend? What does it cost you to acquire a customer? How much you're bringing in on the front end? And what is the lifetime value of that customer to you? If you know those things, it's just, it's just looking at the numbers, plugging them in, and make sure it works. And if you don't know those things, or like them, but you don't believe in them, you're bound to fail.
Metrics are super important. Tutoring clients we have a dashboard where clients enter their metrics every single month, and a mentor goes over them and gives them the biggest areas of opportunity to move numbers up. If you're not tracking your metrics, a simple piece of advice I'll give you listeners right now: start tracking your metrics, the key performance indicators in your business, stuff like average revenue per member per month, length of engagement, lifetime value, things like that will help you have a great, clear financial picture that then you can use to make perfect decisions, or at least optimal decisions that you can keep working on over time, rather than just flailing in the wind and guessing at stuff. The last one, or the second last one, I suppose we'll call on your list, where you said underspending. You covered that a little bit above. What else have you got as notes on underspending?
That's it. Just, you know, you want to get 30 to 50 leads in a campaign and draw out your whole funnel. You want to know how many leads it takes to get a sales call, how many sales calls it takes to get a member, and what the average spend in the front end is for one of those members. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, you need to give it time. You need to put some money into the machine. So I said 500 to 1,000 earlier, but it's really going to vary wildly depending on the market you're in. But you got to get some leads in the funnel before, right? Because would you rather get $1 leads where it takes 100 of those leads to sign up, or would you rather get $50 leads where every single one signs up, mm-hmm. right? Like the $50 lead funnel is going to be a lot better, but you really don't know that, especially if you're optimizing for the wrong metric, mm-hmm. right? And that's an important thing to note too. Like there are different strategies that you can build your campaigns in Facebook. If you're someone who, you know, the most novice level, you're probably going to do CPM or click or something like that. And so, you know, Facebook's going to feed your shit to people who click a lot, and you don't care how many people click the ad. You care how many people come and buy your gym. The same thing goes for leads, right? Like there are people who just like serial opt into everything that gets served to them, but they never buy anything. And so really trying to focus and get your conversion metric as deep down the funnel as you can is helpful.
So you had a bonus idea in your article that we should talk about. How can people completely kneecap a great advertising campaign the downstream? So you've got this, let's say, for example, you've got this great creative, it's converting, people are clicking into this thing all the time and it's working really, really well, but somehow there's a broken link in your funnel or something's going wrong. What have you got here?
Yeah. So if you're like an OG CrossFit gym owner that came up in the 50 cent lead era or the, you know, New You Challenge era, like the way you would run those ads is you would just throw money into the machine and people would just literally buy off the site. You just had so many leads coming through the system that you would just be able to find people deep down in the funnel that are willing to pay a couple $100 to try out a gym without ever stepping foot in it. And then as ads cause rose and more people ran challenges, you had to get better at dealing with colder and colder leads. And what that entails is just being better with your lead nurture and follow-up. And so if you were conditioned to just, you know, ads go out, members walk in the door, and you kept doing that, you know, you've lost your shirt in the last couple of years in doing ads online. And so you can ruin the best campaigns, you can ruin really good lead costs if you are not calling your leads, right? And texting your leads and doing it very quickly. Like I recommend within an hour after they come in, doing a phone call and a personalized text. Obviously, you can use a tool like Kilo's Gym Lead Machine to send some automated stuff automatically, like right when the lead comes in. And that is better than doing nothing. But the combination of automated stuff and personalized stuff works the best.
And we tested this on this show. I've literally, during the show, I think it was with Mateo a few years back, I entered the lead funnel of a few different gyms, and we sat here and we waited to see what happened. And from one gym, the phone rang within like 3 or 4 minutes. And it was that person that on the other end, a real person saying, hey, I saw you just, you know, whatever the offer was or whatever, you're interested in our guide. I wanted to send that to you and to chat a little about fitness. And we just said, like, wow, you're amazing. It was a 2-range gym, by the way. And we just, you know, gave her a high five and then told her boss who we knew, what she'd done a great job. But that literally happened in minutes. Other gyms that we entered into their lead funnel, I don't think I've been contacted to this day, and that was 3 years ago. So I'm still a cold lead for those gyms, but it was incredible. And you said time of response like under an hour. Is that gold standard now, or is it even sooner?
I mean, under 5 minutes is better. 5 minutes is better than an hour, but
yep.
You know, I understand that most of the people listening to this are busy. They have other things going on. They're running a business or coaching. Like, you know, they can't just drop everything at any given time and call back a lead. But yeah, as a your goal should be as fast as possible.
Okay.
The first thing you should do is just track it and then get better over time. But I'd consider gold star anything if you are consistently under an hour.
As we close this out, a couple of quick ones here. If you have an ad campaign that's working really, really well, should you start messing with it, or should you just ride that thing into the ground? What would you do, John?
We don't kill our winners.
There you go. That's the one. And it's so tempting to start messing with stuff, but if it works, why mess with it, right? That's again where the metrics come in. Don't kill your winners. That's a great one. You guys should remember it when you're looking at that. You've invested time in learning how to run your ads. Is there ever a time when you would outsource your ads to someone else? There's lots of companies that do that. Would you ever do that?
Me personally, no. But there are cases where it is appropriate, right? If you are a large gym that is going to be spending enough on advertising that it can offset the cost of, agency fees, which in most cases is going to be, for every dollar of ad spend, add $1 of agency fee. It may make sense, right? But if you are a gym owner that's spending $1,000 a month on ads, assuming you have some guidance, someone looking over it, the aid of someone who knows what they're doing, you're going to get better results, even if your results aren't as good as the agencies, when you factor in the cost of that agency spend, right? Mm-hmm. And so the people who do really well with agencies, one, you have to find a good agency, which is really difficult to do. Yep. Two, they tend to be doing north of $1 million a year in top line and can spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $5,000 in ad spend to offset the few $1,000 agency fee.
And I'll tell you something that Chris has said about this. If you are going to outsource your ads, if you decide to do that, you should still know how to do it. You should know how to run your ads so that you understand what the process is, how things are going, if you're being taken by a shyster, or if your things are working out just perfectly the way you had planned. You should know how to do your stuff. Do it first yourself. Turin will teach you how to do that. If you then decide that you want to offload, you certainly can, but you actually have the skills at that point to take it back if you want to, or to know if it's working. So that's an interesting one. So if you have invested the time to learn how to run ads and you know what you're doing, are you missing the boat, John, if you're not running ads right now?
Yeah. If you're unhappy with the amount of leads that you have coming through the system, 100%.
There you go. John, thank you so much for helping us out with this today. Listeners, if you want more info on this, check out our blog this week. We've got lots of info on ads, including John's article, which is going to have everything that he talked about in greater detail with the 5 reasons that gym owners fail when they run ads. And please keep subscribing to this channel where you can get all sorts of content just like this to help you grow your gym. This is Run a Profitable Gym. I'm Mike Warkentin. That was John Franklin. Please hit subscribe on the way out.